Hello, everyone. So the purpose of this compendium is to bring more awareness to disability rights. I envision this to promote inclusivity and diversity, inform the public about disability rights and their significance. After in-depth research on the Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities and the Americans with Disabilities Act, I encourage policymakers and researchers to continue the advancement of disability rights, but most importantly, incorporate a trauma-informed approach into the development and application of laws, policies, and research methods to offer a different perspective on viewing disability, emphasizing that it is not about being broken. This PowerPoint presentation is an overview of the compendium as well as providing further insight for contextual purposes. Why are disability rights so important? I found statistics that show how widespread disabilities are and how it's unavoidable as we age. More than 43 million adults in the U.S. experience mental illness in a given year, and many of these individuals experience a mental illness serious enough to interfere with or limit one or more major life activities. Currently, it is estimated that 15% of the population worldwide, or some 1 billion individuals, live with one or more disabling conditions. More than 46% of older persons, those aged 60 years and over, have disabilities, and more than 250 million older people experience moderate to severe disability, affirming just how important disability rights are to everyone. Issues. Some issues revolving around the topic of disability rights include defining the term disability poorly could lead to populations who don't meet the criteria, therefore being overlooked for help and services. The stigma associated with having a disability may cause some employers to develop judgments, and there may be a lack of understanding within educational settings by professors of the student who needs assistive aid in their studies. Countries at the poverty level may not have the resources to support individuals with disabilities. I wanted to provide some background on the Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities and the Americans with Disabilities Act. For the definition of disability, the Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities defines disability as persons with disabilities to include those who have long-term physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairments, which, in interaction with various barriers, may hinder their full and effective participation in society on an equal basis with others. The CRPD contains multiple articles. It is regarded as always evolving, and it's a complex process, not a single static state. It involves outside external factors hindering one's ability to participate. It's globally impactful for those who agree to abide. The Americans with Disabilities Act, known as the multiple prongs of ADA definition of disability, extended in defining the term to promote inclusivity and protection from discrimination. It contains 5 titles. The goal was to level the playing field for those who were disabled in school, work, housing, and public services. Examples of disabilities include low vision, cancer, and PTSD. What do disability rights provide? Accommodations within workplace and educational settings, integration into community activities, and protection from discrimination. Additionally, I interviewed anonymous members within multiple spheres of the community whom had connections with individuals of varying disabilities, asking them these 6 questions. They answered based on what they felt comfortable sharing. If they were short on time, we focused on a few questions, such as that of what changes need to occur in our system to accommodate individuals with disabilities needs, what's something that stands out that seems to be a major problem, and what legislative changes should be made to support those with disabilities. One of the interviewees was a former mental health facilitator and former veteran with a disability who had gone on to help other veterans. I gave this person the name interviewee number 1. The other is a volunteer in charge of mental health support groups who was diagnosed with bipolar at age 16. And I gave this person the name interviewee number 2. I also interviewed a therapist who had a disability and a social worker. I wanted to point out patterns I found or main issues that stuck out to me on the needs of the community and changes that needed to occur as well as any stories that struck a chord in me. Some of the questions that I asked included if they had a disability and what barriers they encountered educationally, work-wise, or within healthcare, and how were they supported. Issues and reoccurring themes detected. I found housing as an issue. Many are coming out of prison or hospitals and can't afford a place. There are a long waiting list, and so many become homeless. Interviewing number 1 mentioned coaching, mentorship, guidance, and referrals as the most important needs. Interviewing number 1 and 2 mentioned having mentors, helping them in their growth, and having a strong support system as important. I noticed a need for more resources by all the interviewees. Interview 1 stated there needs to be more networking between all NGOs, hospitals, and private organizations. There's not enough connectivity. There needs to be one location for a transition office or hotline for veterans who have just left the service. A story that stuck out to me was how the therapists I interviewed had gotten reprimanded at their job for the type of shoes they wore because it wasn't stylish enough, but they needed to wear sneakers to walk comfortably because of their disability. And a legislative change encouraged that I thought was a really good idea, stated by the social worker, was that veterans should have a middleman who handles their finances when they get out of the military so that their money doesn't get spent on any addictions. That abiding to treatment becomes mandatory for access to funds, that of veteran benefits. This interviewee also stated trauma from before the military does impact their ability to handle future stress due to already having come from low socioeconomic backgrounds, which could have increased their chances of being subjected to traumatic experiences. I think hearing these sad cases just reminds us of why we should continue being proactive in creating better systems that would improve individuals with disabilities' lives, and to remember that it impacts everyone on some level. In these interviews, I heard mostly feelings of lack and that there needs to be improvement. This compendium is a comprehensive overview of how we as a community can continue to grow the disability rights movement. These rights are applicable to everyone. Additionally, researchers and policymakers should continue advancing their methods for understanding individuals with disabilities and, most importantly, how trauma plays a role. Furthermore, the educational coursework I provide showcases how trauma is deeply embedded within multiple communities of differing identities. I also included under the Hope tab some resources relayed to me by the interviewees. Additionally, the Disability Rights Event Expansion, Redefining Ability, which I attended, the key speakers not only spoke about the struggles they endured, but also how accommodations provided to them within the workplace and school settings, tools in aiding them in achieving great things. Many received college degrees and continue to help others advocate for themselves. And my favorite quote is by Helen Keller: "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. Therefore, we are better together when we work together." And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.